Hey, good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock and time for us to get started. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and have all kinds of plans for the rest of the day. Among your plans, I hope you are in a position where you can, at 12:15, tune in on Zoom to the panel discussion that we're having with three of our really good producing agents along with really good moms. They are going to tell you all of the things they do to put their lives together and gosh, maybe some of us can learn something from them. I'm not a mom, so I don't have to do anything other than participate there. But anyway, it should be good. That's at 12:15, and there's a Zoom link on here. I'm sure you've seen the advertisements and things from our marketing team that has been putting out the information and things. So anyway, join us for that if you can. In the meantime, it's good to see everybody here. We're going to talk today about listing presentation and listing in general. And in your chat, you should have received, let's see, yeah, you should have received today's handout if you want to print it or put it up on a separate computer or whatever you want to do to kind of follow along with what's going on. We're going to do it in two sections. One of the sections is going to be us talking and about listing in general and what kind of things you do to prepare for your listing and your listing presentation. And then we're going to go to a short video by the Mike Ferry organization. A gentleman by the name of Tony Smith is going to talk to us further about a listing presentation and about the importance of it. And I will tell you that of all of the things you do, and I always tell you that things are important. Well, they are. There's a lot of important things, but I can tell you that between a listing presentation and working with buyers and how you present yourself with them, that's some of the most important thing you do. And your presentation is so much more than what you put together in writing. In fact, I was talking with one of our really good agents yesterday in the Murrieta office, and he says that when he goes out on a listing appointment, and we were talking about this listing presentation program just a little bit and things, and he says, when I go out on a listing, all I take is a net sheet based on a price that I think it should sell for. Because people don't want to know all, and they don't even understand necessarily all of the ins and outs. He said, I go out there, I explain to them that I did a market analysis and that their house appears to be worth $700,000, whatever that number is. And based on a $700,000 price tag, when you take away all the costs that it's going to cost you to sell a property, it's going to net you this much. They don't care near as much about what they list it for, even though they act like they do. Oh, we were hoping to get more money out of it. Well, where do you show them the more money? You show them more money on a net sheet, not on a price, because on a price, we all know, if we've been in real estate very long, that price can change. I mean, that price can change all over the place, but the price, even if it stayed the same, can generate a different bottom line depending on what the offers are. So his point was just that his presentation verbally and sitting across the table from him didn't include piling up a whole bunch of paperwork. Now that works for some people. I'm a numbers guy. I like just show me numbers. Now I want you to show me numbers as to what my house is worth and where you got that information, because I don't necessarily know you. And so you need to show me that those numbers came from someplace, not just out of your imagination. So I go out with a prepared CMA. So I step it up from what the agent I was talking to yesterday, I step it up in that from that standpoint. Some people go out there with a full packet of everything they've done in their life and all of those things. And to some people, that makes a difference. To some people that you're going to, that will mean the difference between getting a listing and not, because you'll have that guy that goes out with just one sheet of paper and then you come out with 35 pages and things. It looks like you've already put more effort into it. So the bottom line to what we're talking about right now is that a listing presentation of some kind falls back on my shoulders. It's how I actually present the information. It's who I'm talking to, and it's based on pre-listing, pre-qualification phone call that we had a couple of days ago, asking them questions and trying to find out what their motivation is and trying to find out things about them so that when I go out to the presentation, when we sit down, I can address the things that they had concerns about. I can tell them the price of the property or what I think the property should sell for based on an analysis that I did. And here is the bottom line that you'll get. Those are the things that people want to know. I don't think, and it's not a bad thing, okay? But I don't think that they care about, most people do not care about how many awards I've won in the past. They don't care that I've been association presidents for my association. They don't care that I'm on the board of directors for California Association of Realtors or on the board of directors for the National Association of Realtors. Those are all feathers in your cap, I guess, but they don't mean anything to the person out there on the street. It's just like if I have too many initials on my business card, sometimes it just runs together. I've been to the doctor a few times in my life, as hopefully we all have, for checkups at least. And I have never looked at their credentials before we sit down and talk to them. When I talk to them, I want to know. So he's going to ask me or she's going to ask me this, and this, and I'm going to answer it this way, and that way. And then we're going to decide whether or not I need further treatment or whether or not I'm ready to rock and roll. It's not based on a whole bunch of past. But it is important that we put together a presentation that in our mind, it just, and all the way through our vocals, that it just flows out. And that comes from a lot of different things. Practice, obviously. And I like to throw in practice. I'm a sports buff. And I know that baseball is coming up in another couple of months, and the first games are going to be in Tokyo. And the teams are already in spring training in Florida and Arizona and California. And so they're already in spring training. And what spring training is it's practice, practice, practice. They're practicing hitting a ball. They're practicing throwing a ball. They're practicing catching a ball. They're practicing it off the ground to the left and off the ground to the right. And they are practicing all of these things. They're putting together lineups that may work in different ways. And football just ended, and they went from a playbook. They started out with a playbook at the first of the season and said, these are the plays that we're going to run. Practice these, understand what these are, so that when we get in the huddle, that the quarterback doesn't have to explain the whole play to you. Okay, Johnny, you go to the right and then break down about 20 yards, and Fred, you break to the left, and then I want you in a crossing pattern across the middle. And they don't have time to explain all that in the huddle. Plus, everybody would be confused. It's the same thing with the listing presentation. If we practice it, if we practice what we're going to say, if we practice it even ahead of time, maybe we practice it in a car ahead of time on our way there instead of listening to sports talk. I'll throw that in there because that's what's on my radio most of the time. But anyway, we practice and practice and practice so that by the time we get ready to present, it just rolls off our tongue. It just is in place for that specific seller. We know exactly, because we've talked with them, we know exactly what it is that they're trying to achieve. Well, we want to buy this house in a different city and blah, 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 and it's going to cost us this much. And whatever those cases may be, we know all that stuff ahead of time. So by the time we go talk to them, we're talking their listing, we're talking their house, we're talking their motivation, we're talking things that apply to them. So we put those things together. Sellers want to know that you value their opinion. So when they're talking to you and they're saying things, well, down the street, something sold for this much and things, well, you've already looked that up. Oh, yes, I found that as one of when I was doing my analysis, that house sold for this, but do you know that it was a foreclosure property in it? So actually it sold for a lot less than what I think we can get out of yours. You already know those answers. And so the preparation for the presentation starts well before you go out there. Give yourself enough time, when you've made that phone call or you've knocked on doors or whatever, and somebody says, well, yeah, I'd like to know what my house is worth. We've talked about it. We may consider selling if we can get the right price or whatever. Give yourself enough time to prepare that right price and don't just try to unless you're really, really good, and there are some of you out there that are probably really, really good, so it certainly would make a difference. But unless you're really, really good at it, you're going to need some help in finding the price. Even appraisers that are out there on a regular basis appraising properties, they start out the same way we do. They do market comps. They try to find out what's selling in the area, what has sold, how recently it's sold. What was wrong with the house or what was right with the house? What did it include that another one didn't? Why was it priced higher? And you're learning all of those things as you go through it before you get out to the house, so that by the time you get ready to just talk with them about their house and their specifics, there's not very many things that you don't know. Remember that they're looking for, now some of us list properties for friends. And that's okay, that's good. I'm glad they trust you. I'm glad they trust me. I'm glad that I'm one of their first thoughts when it comes to it. But what they're really looking for at this time is they're not looking at you as a friend. What they're looking at is a friend, maybe, but someone that can help them sell their house. So part of your presentation needs to be a good part of your presentation needs to be about the things that you can do and the things that they can do to make the house look better or update or whatever it is. That conversation has to happen as a business person, as a person that's trying to help them do what they want to do, which is to sell their property for whatever reason. Maybe it's upsizing, maybe it's downsizing, maybe it's moving to be closer to kids. I don't know what those answers are going to be, but they're going to be different for every person. But we need to make sure that we address all of those. They want somebody who's going to be a real estate person at this time. We'll be a friend when we're on the soccer field with our kids. We'll be a friend when we go to dinner. We'll be friends when we're down at the beach hanging out. But today, when we do this presentation, it needs to be official. You can smile. In fact, you should smile. You can nod your head and agree with them on some different things, but don't find yourself getting swept off into the last soccer game, or are you going to the high school play or anything like that. Those are all conversations outside of the listing. If you want to do that ahead of time, you can. But I'm here to tell you what we need to do to list and sell your house. So make sure you're knowledgeable about all of that. Make sure that you've done your homework on the CMAs and the different things. Make sure you've driven the neighborhood. So if I pull up market analysis for a property that I'm listing, I make sure that I go over early enough to drive the neighborhood. I want to look at the houses from the outside, at least, that have sold or that are currently listed. What's our competition like right now? Okay, so the price is $735. I'm going to drive by that house and see if there's anything that I can see from the outside. Maybe spectacular landscaping, maybe nice circular driveway that's all in, who knows what you're going to find, okay? But the point is that I want to really know the properties that we're comparing against. So if they closed escrow a while ago, I'm going to pull up not just the address and the price, but I'm going to peruse the pictures that are in the MLS. They're still in there. I'm going to go through those. I'm going to find out what the house looked like, see if there's anything that I should know that in my mind I can compare when I get there. But I want to know those things ahead of time. People want, when they're doing business on something as expensive as their house and something as meaningful as their house, something that has little Sally's height marks on the threshold of, or on the door jamb of her bedroom, and things that have meant things to them in their house. They are dealing with it from a very, very emotional side of things. And what they need is, they don't need somebody who's going to follow along with all their emotions. They need to have somebody who is going to tell them the truth. If you tell them the truth about the price, about what they might need to do, make sure that make sure that when we show your house that you don't have dishes in the sink. Make sure that your beds are made. Make sure that the kids keep their toys picked up. Whatever conversation that has just makes you look better. It makes you look smarter. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. And it creates a level of trust that it's hard to get out of. They go, gosh, he was answering everything. She knew exactly what she was talking about. She even asked about that stain in the ceiling to see if we had it fixed. So there are things that you notice that you have to be sure to be straightforward with them, not as a friend, although you're kind of a friend, but not as a friend, but as a business person who is trying to help them get the most for their house, and in a time that they want to. We want to get the most amount of money in a reasonable amount of time. Isn't that our goal? When we go out on a listing presentation, we want to get them the most amount of money. Doesn't matter that it affects our commission positively, but we want to make sure that they get the most amount of money out of their house, and we want to make sure that it fits within the time frame that they can do. If their time frame is to be out of the house by May when school is out, well, we want to move right after the kids are out of school. We want to move during the summer, so because we're moving to kind of a winter playground area and we don't want to be messing around with it in the snow and things. Okay, so we need to be on the market when? Well, I looked at the market analysis and it says that houses similar to yours in this area are taking 37 days on market. And what that means, Mr. Seller, is that it should take us approximately a month to a month and a half to get your house in escrow. When we get your house in escrow, we're going to need another 35, 45 days, whatever it happens to be. We're going to need some extra time to get it closed. So that means that if we take the 37 and we add 45 to it and things, now we're up to, and then you can let them know that it's about a 2.5 month process. It's about a 3 month process. So if you're looking at June as being your move out date, or your hopeful move out date, when do we need to put your house on the market? And you can just back it up that way and figure out exactly when it is that you need to get it listed. If they tell you that they don't want to move till October, and houses in that development are selling in 30 days or something, we don't want to put the house on the market in March unless they have an alternate plan, unless they have a plan B or a plan C. Lucky that there's 26 letters in the alphabet so that we can go through all the plans that we need to. But we need to find out what they want. That's part of our presentation. Part of our presentation is to ask them questions. In fact, asking questions is, you'll be surprised how many answers you get. Don't ask them yes or no questions. Would you like to sell your house? Oh, well, yes. That's not an answer for you. But how soon do you need to be gone? When would you like to be moving? Those kind of questions that are, and they take some practice and things. They are part of our scripts and role playing. If you get into the scripts and role playing part of things, those are part of those. If you just look through scripts, if you create your own script, but get it down firm enough in your mind that you can move forward. So stick to questions. Always, always, always acknowledge their question. Sometimes the acknowledgement is gonna be, you know what, we're gonna cover that in just a minute. Is it okay if we just stall for a second here? Or is it okay if I answer that in just a few minutes? Because I think you'll see why once we get there, but I will answer it. And you move them in that direction. You move them in a direction that you want. That's the advantage of having some preparation done prior to doing the listing presentation. Is that you know ahead of time, I mean, you have that time to put together a presentation that's gonna hit all of those things. The one thing I wanna hit on real quick, and this is gonna come out in just a minute in the video as well. But in your packet that we uploaded for you and things, it says, so you're off to take a listing. There's a little sheet in there that says, so you're off to take a listing, what do I need to do? Well, obviously you need to have gotten a property profile to identify that the people you're going out to talk to are the people that are going to be able to sell the house. And sometimes that identification process is a little longer than others, because sometimes people pass away. Sometimes people get into a situation where they can't handle paperwork anymore and they're not competent. They may have a power of attorney, they may have passed away and it's a successor trustee who's handling it. They may have passed away and it's now in probate, so there's somebody that the probate court has signed. So you're not always gonna get a call from the guy whose name shows up on the property profile. If that's the case, then I need to prepare them ahead of time. You know, Sally calls me and says she wants to list the house, and I pull the property profile and it says that John owns it. So then I'm gonna tell Sally when I talk to her on the phone, I'm gonna ask her. One of the first questions is going to be. I noticed that the home is owned by John. Where do you come into this picture? Where are you handling it for him? Has he passed away? What's going on? Well, he passed away and I am the successor trustee. Oh, okay, great. Can you do me a favor? And when I come over, can you show me the paperwork that shows that you are the successor trustee, Sally? I just need that because when we finally end up putting together paperwork. It's going to require, you're gonna be the one signing, but it's not going to jive with any of the stuff that the county has on record. So I need that. I need the power of attorney if it's a power of attorney. I need the probate instructions if it's a part of a probate. I need those things in order to move forward with the listing. And when I go out to do a listing presentation, I don't wanna go out 5 times. Maybe you do. Personally, I'd like to get it all taken care of at one time. So if I do enough of this advanced work up front, then I only have to go out one time. The second time that I go out, it's to make sure that a sign gets put up and a lockbox gets put on. And a photographer is there to take pictures and things. So the first one is where I want to come away with signed paperwork if I can. So I make sure that the names match somehow. I do a market analysis. I may take it with me if I feel like we need it. And sometimes, like that other agent was saying, he doesn't even take it out. I'm not recommending one way or the other. But as long as you have it, you may as well show it to them. Here's where I got the numbers from. Here's my market analysis. It shows that your house should sell for $700,000 or whatever it happens to be. So I go out there with that. I go out ahead of time, like I told you a couple of minutes ago, to drive around the neighborhood and find out what some of the comps actually are, what some of the comparables, what kind of competition do I have. I want to see what the houses look like when I'm, and then I pull up in front of their house about 10 minutes early. And what I'm doing there 10 minutes early is I'm reviewing the comps. I'm reviewing the information I just found by driving the neighborhood. I'm reviewing the whatever it is that I need to make sure that when I go in, they may come out and knock on my window and say, all right, you don't have to sit out here in the sun, come on in. But I'm there ahead of time. They came and got me. It wasn't a 10 o'clock appointment that they were sitting there at 10:20 wondering if I was going to show up, or a 10 o'clock appointment that I called at about 10:05 to tell them I was running behind because traffic was heavy or whatever the case may be. Those things can happen. I could run into heavy traffic. I could be held up by a car accident of some kind for somebody else, but I could be held up by things. Let them know what's going on. But if you can plan your 10 o'clock listing, for instance, if you plan your time around being there by about 9:45 or so, then 10 o'clock usually is not a big deal, because even if you run into some obstacles along the way, you have time to circumvent those and get there from a different direction or whatever. So, and certainly you have enough time to make a phone call and say, right now, I'm stopped down the street. You may have noticed they're doing some construction in this new school down here, and they've got this whole road blocked off. So it'll take me an extra minute or two to get there, but it gives you that time, and you're doing it ahead of the time that you're supposed to be there. So when I get there, I want to make sure that I have the right paperwork. Now, CAR through their Zip Forms program has taken care of that for us a lot. And that is that when you click residential listing agreement, which is one of the top 3 or 4 items on the right hand side of all forms, when you're in Zip Forms, you click that and it downloads the things that are important. Not everything that you'll need, but the things that are important to establish your representation for a listing. It downloads, the first thing you'll see that it downloads is the disclosure regarding agency relationships. We call it an agency disclosure. And it basically says who you're representing for the purpose of listing this property. Then it will download along with that. And that's just by pushing RLA, or Residential Listing Agreement. This automatically downloads. Another one that automatically downloads is the possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. And that is exactly what it says, possible representation. You know, if they don't understand what it means, and they won't until you explain it to them, but you just let them know that this means I could be representing more than one side or more than one party in this transaction. But bottom line is that I'm listing this for you and I am representing you first. But if I had a buyer come up and ask me about it, you'd want me to show it to you, right? You'd want me to show it to them, right? You'd want me to write that offer if they decided to buy, right? And those things will all be helpful. So I could be representing more than one party in this transaction. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen occasionally. And I just have to let you know that that's a possibility. It's also going to download a California Consumer Protection. It's the one that talks about how we're not going to sell your information off to other people. And then there's another one in there that's fair housing. We all know what fair housing is, but if you don't, it's a 2-pager that gets downloaded right at the same time. And that fair housing thing will let them know that we're not going to pick and choose who comes to see your house, other than the fact that they need to be pre-qualified. And if you throw that in there, that's kind of an extra little plus for you, is that we're going to make sure that the people that see your house are pre-qualified, that they are capable of buying the house. Even if there's another agent involved, we're going to make sure that they've got some pre-qualification going on. And before we even sign an offer that comes in, we're going to make sure that the people have taken all of the necessary steps to pre-qualify for the house. Doesn't mean they will qualify by the end, because the house could change that, but at least they come to the table pre-qualified. So we're going to take care of all of those things up front. And and fair housing, I can't discriminate about who sees the house or who buys the house or anything else. I have to show it to anybody who's of contract age. Well, we're in a 55 plus community. They have to be 55 or older to buy a house here. No, they don't have to be 55 or older to buy a house there. They have to be 55 or over to live in the association, which has legally set it up as a senior development or 55 plus development or something like that. It has been legally set up to handle that. However, you can own a home when you're not 55. It's just you can't live there. So you can rent it out, or you can hold on to it, or you can do whatever you want to do with it. Maybe I'm saving it for my mom when she hits 55, or whatever the case may be. Things are different in life, but I have to show it to anybody who wants to see it. Well, we don't want investors to buy it. Okay, well, we can make that decision at the time, but understand again that we don't always get that information up front. Sometimes they just want to buy it. And why would you not want an investor? And it kind of gives you a point of question for them, just to find out, well, you know, we like our neighborhood and we care about our neighbors, and we don't want somebody coming in here that's just gonna turn it into a rental property and have renters moving in and out, whatever the case may be. We have to present all offers, unless you absolutely in writing tell me that I cannot present an offer of under $600,000 or whatever that happens to be. Then I have that option. I've represented Freddie Mac for a number of years, and they would say, don't bother to bring us anything that they would give me a bottom line, because we would get so many offers on foreclosure properties that the number of offers that would come in, they didn't even want to see all of them. If 20 offers came in on a property, they didn't have any, they wanted me to screen them ahead of time. So here were my screening perimeters. So if somebody tells you that, then you follow what the seller says. But bottom line, we're supposed to by law present all offers. So even when they told me not to, I still told them that I had an offer on the table of $450,000. And they would say, no, we said we didn't want anything under 550 or whatever those numbers were. So we have that conversation. We know that conversation. We fill out that paperwork that's there. There's going to be subsequent paperwork that has to be filled out that you know about, but those can be filled out not necessarily when I do the listing presentation, or it can be at that time. Transfer disclosure statement, obviously, lead paint if the house is old enough, seller property questionnaire. So there are other forms, and on that packet that I sent out, there's a whole list of possibilities, but those that I covered a minute ago, those are the ones that need to be filled out when you first go out. So with that in mind, I'm gonna let somebody else talk to us for just a few minutes here, and then we'll do a little recap on the other side of his presentation. So with that in mind, I'm gonna click a button and hopefully it's gonna work.
Hello again, Tony Smith here. We are back in your construction of the foundation. Have you had construction under progress? Is there concrete and mud and dirt and rebar and dust everywhere, or are you getting this thing ironed out? We hope you are really starting to understand this slab of concrete that we're trying to build for you. We want you to get in a position where this support system for your real estate career is really starting to take shape. Today is a really exciting portion of what we do, the listing presentation, okay? But I do have to recap, you know how it is. We are not going to let you loose on the homework. If the homework doesn't get done and the actions don't get taken, is there really a foundation? This is not a let's talk about it, hypothetical, wouldn't it be a good idea if theory. This is practical. So the only way the foundation gets built is if you are putting into practice what we do, right? But let's look at recap from our last session. Did you print out several copies of the pre-qualification script? Did you get that put in the places that it needs to be so that you can do it 100% of the time with 100% of the questions? Do you have it where it needs to be? Have you set up the practice and role play of the pre-qualification script with your role play partners every day? Have you been role-playing the pre-qualification script? That gives you the authority and the comfort. Have you begun pre-qualifying any and all appointments you have? I hope you're effectively using the script, writing the answers, attaching the lead sheet to it. So now you're taking the step from step to lead follow-up to pre-qual. Now you've got a lead and a pre-qual and a formal appointment. Have you booked some appointments yet? We're sure hoping you have. Right? That is the goal, right? Anytime we're not presenting, right, if you consider a day going by without prospecting or presenting, part of the opportunity was missed, wasn't it? Okay? We expect you to believe and understand that you should get in front of someone daily. And that should be your ultimate goal, to be presenting to somebody daily, right? I also want to mention, we keep looking at things that we can apply in the background for you to build the foundation. Mike Ferry TV, have you been watching? Have you been listening to the 2 separate podcasts that we do? Have you been exploring the website everywhere you need to? And then I made a note, our events calendar. I don't know where you are time-wise in this process. I don't know if it's January or if it's July or somewhere in between, right? But we have Mike Ferry events going off all year long. We have prospecting clinics. We have 3-day workshops. We have academies that are 2-hour little workshops. We've got our major events, the production retreat, the superstar retreat. We have events going off all year long. The question is, if you want to really support what we're doing here, you should get involved in some events. Get registered. Sign up for some of the events that we have. It'll take you there faster. Okay, so be sure and check out the events tab on our website. See what's coming up. Get yourself plugged in, would you? Good, thank you. So now we're back on the listing presentation. I'll never forget, I was sitting at an event in Orange County, one of my earlier events. This has been 30-some years ago. I was sitting at an event with Mike, and Mike asked us to write these 3 words down on a piece of paper. He said, write down the word prospecting. Underneath that, write the word presenting. And underneath that, write the word closing. And he said, okay, so audience, I want you to circle which one of those you believe is the most important activity of the 3. Okay, as a young, brash guy at the time, right? Knew everything about everything. Okay, I circled closing. And I'm like, oh, you got to be a closer. Always be closing, right? I circled closing. And then I looked to the left and right, and somebody circled prospecting, got a prospect, right? Mike said, most of the room, you have it wrong. Presenting. Your ability to perform a solid, strong listing presentation is and always will be the single most profitable activity you're involved in. What are all the leads in the world worth if you get to a house and you botch the presentation? What is all that blood, sweat, and tears that you put into prospecting worth, right? If you can't present and actually get a contract signed. A really strong listing presentation makes the close super easy. You don't need to know a whole bunch of crazy closes. You need a strong presentation. So of all the building blocks in the foundation, I need you to put a real special star next to this one. I need to honestly have you consider that this one is something that you need to spend a lot of time on. All right? And remember we talked about the 180-degree rule? Look at what all the other agents are doing and go 180 degrees in the other direction. You're going to see that quite a bit in our version of a listing presentation. The first place you're going to see it is 9 out of 10 agents hardly spend any ounce of time on perfecting a listing presentation at all. Ask yourself, how much time have you honestly spent in your career so far? If you're brand new, it probably hasn't been much. But what if you've been at this 2 or 3 years? What if you've been at it 10 years? How much time have you honestly spent perfecting your presentation? Okay, now that you know it's the single most profitable activity you could be involved in, should you spend a fair amount of time on it? Yes. Okay, now that's on your shoulders. You're going to have to spend the time. I'm going to show you why. Okay, but there's no way around it. You've got to spend the time developing a strong presentation. All right, so let's look at some points. We want to go through a series of points that we've got about you developing a strong listing presentation, shall we? Point 1. What does a seller want from the agent they hire? See, if we take it clear down to the bones, to the bare bones, to the basis, to the foundation, we ask ourselves, what does a seller want from the agent they hire? And if we have a really good, solid understanding of what a seller wants, and then if we're able to deliver that, will they hire us? Yes. So let's look at this little series of points that what a seller wants from us to hire an agent. Okay? A, They want the home sold for the most money in a reasonable amount of time. Well, we all know that to be true. Doesn't a seller want their home sold for the most amount of money in a reasonable amount of time? Why do we say reasonable? Well, if you sell the house in 30 seconds, is it natural for a seller to think, uh-oh, did I get the most money possible? It's sold so fast. And then at the same time, if it takes 10 months, are they concerned that they've hired the wrong agent? Yes, right? So a reasonable amount of time. Is that realistic? Should a seller be able to expect that? They should. B, I wrote down. They want to see our expertise and then tell them what it takes to get the home sold. They want to see our expertise and they want us to be able to show and tell them what does it take to get the home sold. That's what they're hiring us for, is for us to know what it takes to sell their home. All right. In your workbook, you have something called the plan of action. Okay, the plan of action, our Mike Ferry plan of action, is a description of things that are put together. Here's what we do to sell your home, right? And you're going to include one of those plan of actions in a pre-listing package, which we'll talk about today, okay? But it is for you to start getting an understanding. What do you do to sell homes? And I think a seller expects that expertise. If you can't deliver that expertise, why would they hire you, right? C, they want an agent that will value their opinion and listen to their concerns, right? They want an agent that's going to value their opinion and listen to their concerns. Doesn't everybody want to be heard? Right? If I'm going to sell my home, I want my questions answered, right? If I have concerns, I'd like you to address those concerns. And I want you to value my opinion, right? I want to be heard. Wouldn't anybody? Don't you? Don't you want people to value your opinion and be heard? Natural, isn't it? The world walks around with a certain radio station on we always joke about, right? WIIFM. What's in it for me? Okay, that is the world operates like that. So your seller wants to know what's in it for me. And they deserve for you to be able to show them that expertise. I wrote down D, they want an agent that will tell them the truth even though they don't want to hear it. Okay, this is one separating factor with a lot of real estate agents, okay? But the seller wants the truth. They want someone that will tell them the truth. Even at times, they don't want to hear the truth. The truth about price, or the truth about they need to clean up the backyard, the truth that, if they don't paint that front door, it's going to be a problem. They want you to be able to deliver the truth. Many agents get very uncomfortable here, especially when it comes to things like price or condition, right? Or taking control of what they're going to do and not do to sell the home, right? It's why many agents overprice homes and never give the best advice of what a seller should do to get it sold. They don't tell them the truth, or they don't want to tell them the truth. Okay, they expect that. E, I wrote down, they're looking for a great salesperson, not a friend. Another major separation, right? Many agents, your competition, are out there running around thinking that the bonding approach is the way to go, right? Let's talk about what we have in common. Let's be friends, and then I'll get you as a seller. Right? The seller wants a salesperson. Did you know that you're officially a salesperson? That's what you signed up for. That's who you are. That's what they expect. They're not looking for a friend, right? They have their lives. You're a small window of their life. You're helping them get their home sold or helping them purchase a home. You are not a major portion of their life day in and day out, weekends, nights, evenings, right? They don't want a friend. They want a salesperson, and you have to be able to deliver what they want. F, they want an agent they can feel a strong level of trust with. Sellers want an agent that they can feel a strong level of trust with. How do we develop trust? Knowing the market conditions, knowing what it takes to sell a home, telling them the truth, trust, truth, telling them the truth about price, condition, what it's going to take. They want that, don't they? We need to have that in our presentation. They want constant, continuous communication. Seller wants constant, continuous communication. Do you know what the number one complaint is that the public, people out there in the world have with us real estate agents? Lack of communication. The number one complaint. I never heard from my agent. Boy, they signed the contract, took off of the driveway at 100 miles an hour. I never heard from them again, right? You have to be able to supply constant, continuous, good, solid communication. I know you can do that. H, they want complete honesty regarding the price. They want complete honesty regarding the price. It's hard. They don't like it, but they want it. Okay? Our presentation is designed for you to be able to deliver that. All right? I, they want an agent that knows about the best interest and feel like they have their best interest at heart. They want an agent that knows what the best interest is. What is the best interest for you? The proper way to present the home, constant communication, telling them the truth. But they need to feel that you have those best interests at heart. Right? They need to know that you're on their side. Okay? J, they want an agent who understands the market better than anyone else. They want an agent who understands the market better than anyone else. It's one of the reasons they hire you. If you don't know the market conditions, right, what's going on, that's a little red flag if I'm a seller. You need to know, right? And then the last one I wrote down, they want an agent who will be the calming force in a very emotional situation. They want an agent that's the rock, the person that's calm. They're emotional. They're packing up the pictures. They're having to walk by, those little lines on the door jamb of their kids' heights. It's emotional, isn't it? They're emotional, but they want you to be the calming force. They certainly don't want you to be the emotional one. Right? You need to become that calming force in the situation. That's what they're looking for. Okay? So now we know what a seller wants. Can you provide it? Yes. We have to be able to provide it in a way that they can accept it. All right? Major point number 2. This is the hardest one right here. This is one of the hardest ones for many agents to accept. Major point number 2. You must accept the fact that it has to become a canned, scripted presentation. If you ever want to be a great presenter, you have to accept the fact that it needs to be canned and scripted presentation. Don't fight it, okay? The hardest part of my time as a speaker and a coach for Mike for 30 years is understanding and seeing an agent over a long period of time, watching their income go up and down and up and down. Make some money, give it all back. Make some money, market goes down, give it back. And to see an agent do that for 10, 15, 20 years because they won't accept a canned presentation. Boy, it's just hard to watch, okay? I'm going to ask you right now, as somebody that's building a foundation, hear these words. It needs to be canned. Okay? The most highly paid people in the world have canned presentations. The best actors, the best musicians, the best artists, the best comedians, the best performers, the best business people. They have canned presentations. And then the ones that don't are usually the amateurs. Okay? Professionals have practice presentations. Amateurs do not. Please accept that today. Okay? 3, I want you to get the background for this, for you to adopt our presentation, okay? Mike Ferry created this presentation a long, long time ago, okay? And Mike Ferry worked for a small independent company. And if you know Mike at all, he's one of the most aggressive people there. So as a real estate agent back then, he went into the industry working for an independent. He could go out and find appointments. Aggressive, right? He'd go out and find appointments. He was getting beat. The big franchises at the time, all the majors, were beating him. And if you know Mike Ferry, he wasn't going to accept that at all. So he went on a mission to find out, why am I getting beat and how can I set it up that I don't get beat anymore? Okay? And what he did is he asked a lot of people, brokers, agents, and asked a lot, how could I not get beat? And here's what he came up with. I need to create a presentation that, A, I need to know what questions the seller always asks and answer them in my presentation. I need to include what are the questions that a seller always wants to know And my presentation needs to answer that. What are the questions they always ask? B, I need to know, how do they always object? What do sellers always object to? And I need to, learn and adopt and have the answers for all of their objections. So what do sellers always object to and have the answers? And then C, I need to know the market stats, how to determine price, and my presentation has to be able to deliver price in a way that they can accept it. So I need to figure out the market, how to understand the market stats and be able to get them to understand the right price for their home. So he created his listing presentation. And this presentation was designed to win against the competition. Would you like to win against the competition? As a new agent, if you're a newer agent, do you have some fierce competition out there? Are you going to need to learn how to win at a high level? Absolutely, you're going to need to learn how to win. So we've designed a listing presentation that is designed for anyone to win. All right? That's the beauty of this thing. The other beauty of it is we've designed one presentation that works for everybody. This presentation is designed, it'll work for a first-time seller, a mid-range seller, a high-priced upper-end seller. This presentation is one for all. So you only have to learn one presentation. You only have to master one, okay? And then the best news of all, okay? Point number 4. We have put this entire presentation into what we call the Mike Ferry's 5-step listing process. Okay, it's a 5-step listing process that is designed for you to win. Okay, and that's what the real beauty of what we've done is. Okay, so I want to go through the 5-step listing process for you so you can understand winning. And I need you to really adopt the foundation of creating, implementing, and applying a strong 5-step process starting today. All right, so let's go through the steps. The first step of the 5-step process. Pre-qualify 100% of the people using 100% of the pre-qualifying questions. Does that sound familiar? Our entire last section was about pre-qualifying. You spent the entire last section setting yourself up for the first step of our 5-step listing process. I hope you've done all of that work. I hope you've got the pre-qual. I hope you've been practicing. That step is so important because most of your competitors don't do it. So let's start thinking about these steps, okay? You have a listing presentation. Is it pretty safe to think that they have others that they're considering? Yes, the sellers are considering others. You're probably competing. If they have an appointment with you and they have an appointment with another realtor, is it also safe to expect that they see you at equals at that moment? Well, if they set an appointment with you and they set an appointment with someone else, you were good enough to get an appointment. So they must see you somewhat at equals, right? So you're equal. Equal. We ask you to take step 1. It's to pre-qualify 100% of the people using 100% of the questions. Your competition won't do it. You're one step ahead. Okay, you're stepping ahead. You're already winning. You're one step ahead. The first step of our listing presentation. The second step is a major step. Okay, mail or deliver a pre-listing package. Mail or deliver a pre-listing package. You've got to get yourself set up, which is going to be homework, okay? Your homework for this section is to create and get your pre-listing package put together, all right? What should be in it? Let's look at what should be in it. What should my pre-listing package include? It should include a list of 4 or 5 personal references with their names and phone numbers. 4 or 5 personal references with their names and phone numbers. Well, I'm brand new. Okay, did you have an old boss that thought you were great at what you do? Do you have friends that think you're very responsible and you're a good person? Did you have people that you know in the real estate industry that would write a reference for you? If you've been at this for 2 or 3 years, you improve your references as you go along. Okay. The next thing in your plan of action, or your pre-listing package, is your plan of action. So included in your package is a plan of action. We need to have you create that. If there's anything else you do or that your company tells you to do that you've decided to do to get someone's home sold, it should be included in there. Okay? And then if there's anything in our plan of action that you're not going to do under any circumstances, it shouldn't be in there, should it? Because we don't want you to mislead a seller in any way. Tell them the truth. Okay? Now, there's one part of our plan of action that I think you should be mandatory. I will talk to blank number of your neighbors. You fill in the blank. I will talk to 20 of your neighbors when I list the home and tell them about the property. Okay, I will talk to 25 of the neighbors and tell them about your property once we've listed it. That should be required, okay? All right, but you have your plan of actions included in it. The third thing in your pre-listing package, a copy of your track record or the company's track record. If you're brand new, your company has these kind of things. What's our track record? How long have we been here? What kind of transactions do we do? What's our history? You include that. If you're getting a good solid track record, include your track record. You know, it's not hard to get a great track record. The average agent only sells 4 homes a year. So as soon as you start getting to the 5, 10, 15, 20 homes a year, hey, listen, I'm selling 20 homes a year. The average agent here in town sells 4. It's a good track record, all right? So you include that. 4 on the list, a completed CMA with the suggested list price. Now, we want this included in your pre-listing package, right? This is the comps. This is the homes that you've decided to include that are comparable to the property that you're going. Many of the companies today, the MLS systems today, ask your broker. They've got really neat little things that'll help you design a nice CMA. We recommend that you don't overcomplicate things. We recommend that you include like 3 active listings, 3 pending sales, and 3 closed sales as part of your CMA, that comparative market analysis. We want the comps to be clear and clean. We recommend 1 page each. Don't send them 48 comps in some multi-level approach to a CMA. You can really complicate it with the seller. We want very clear comparable properties. We recommend that you look at, what's one that's a little worse than their property, what's one that's a little better than their property, and what's one that's right on the money in your estimation of value. And if you'll see this in our presentation, the actual scripts, we will have you present that CMA live in front of them. But in the pre-listing package, you want to include a really nice, clean, comparative market analysis with the comps. Just don't overcomplicate it. Don't add a lot of extra into what's there, okay? Good. Once again on 5, I'll say it again, the net sheet. We should say, here's the price minus your mortgage, minus title, minus escrow, right? You're going to net X when you sell it for this price. You include that. Isn't that what's most important to the client? How much am I going to get out of this deal? You include the net sheet. 6, you include a completed contract. You include a completed contract, your standard listing agreement that your company use. You include that in there, completely filled out. Completely filled out. Okay, any concerns about this? The net sheet, the comps, the CMA, the completed contract? The price is the price. Is it going to go up because you see it? Is the home worth more when you get there? The home is worth what it's worth. The sooner we understand that the value of the home is the value of the home, the better off we are, and the seller is better off knowing it up front. We'll talk about it in a minute, okay? And then the last thing is all of your disclosure statements, whatever disclosures that your state or company require, right? So you've got this package put together. This little package is nicely packaged up that you get and you mail or deliver a pre-listing package to the seller. It's going to have all these things, right? This is another step forward over your competitors. You were equal. You pre-qualified, they didn't. You're 1 step ahead. You send a nice, clean pre-listing package, non-ego. Okay, don't throw 98 photos of you and the dog and the parrot in there. Okay, non-ego. You're 2 steps ahead. Your competitors don't send a package over. Okay? The third major step of our 5-step listing process. You call back and confirm the appointment. You call back and confirm. Have they received the package? Do you have any questions about it? Did you read the package? Will the sellers all be there, right? Is 4 o'clock still the right time for us? The callback and confirm is designed as another place to find out about any objections they have, right? Hey, I got your package and I saw $469.9. That's cheaper than we thought. We wanted $550. It's okay, all right? And I see a 6% commission in the contract. Hey, we were thinking about a discounted commission. Well, I can appreciate that, Mr. Seller. And what it sounds to me is you're a very diligent seller and you absolutely want to net the most money possible that you can get today. Is that what I'm hearing? Excellent. Do you mind when I get there if we cover the net proceeds and the maximum dollars you can get very early on in our time together? Let's just cover it when we're there, shall we? Okay. Little note, pricing and commission. So now you know that comes from you calling back and confirming the appointment. That's step 3. We were equal. We took 1 step with the pre-qual. We took 2 steps with the pre-listing package. We took 3 steps with the callback and confirm. We haven't even shown up yet, and we're 3 steps ahead of our competitor. Are you starting to catch on? We're figuring out a way to win by strategy here. Okay, the strategy gets you winning, right? D, the 4th step of our 5-step process. Show up physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared. And I put a little note, early. Show up physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared, early. This is such a major factor in presenting, because our competitors don't do this. You know, our competitors, they have an appointment at 4 o'clock. They get started. They're going to do a little work before they get on the appointment. They do a little work, working a few emails, couple phone calls, look down. Oh, I'm going to be late. Did you know that the majority of agents show up to a listing appointment a minute or 2 late? Do you know how horrible of a presentation it is if you start with an apology? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm sorry I'm late. It was traffic out there. That is probably the worst way you could possibly start a listing presentation. Okay? So we ask you to get yourself mentally, right, physically, emotionally, be there early. Should you fight with the teenagers in the car, on the phone in the car on the way to a listing appointment? That's not showing up. That's not right. Okay? You need to create what we call a really solid pre-appointment routine, which we'll talk about in a minute, okay? But we're going to ask you to have a pre-appointment routine that is really solid, right? That will get you there physically, emotionally, and mentally prepared, right? But you need to do that because that's our 4th step. Now, here you are. You're 4 steps ahead because you're showing up early, your head's on right, it's game time, show time, ready to go, right? And then the 5th step, the most important major step at the end. You follow the Mike Ferry listing scripts verbatim. You follow the Mike Ferry listing scripts verbatim. All right? Verbatim. Any confusion with verbatim? I mean word for word. I wrote down, read them to the client if you have to. Bring a copy with you. All right? It's better for you to... I have a script. Is it okay? Mike Ferry never walks into a room that he's going to present without a script. The best people in the world have a script, right? The best performers, the best musicians, they have their script. You bring it with you. It makes it so much better. So now, there's 5 steps designed for you to win the listings. Will you adopt our 5-step process starting today? I sure hope so. Let's talk more about it, okay? Let's go on to point number 5. If you think that these 5 steps do not apply to you, or that you have a better way, your ego's probably getting in the way. Okay, so really think about this. If you really, as you heard the 5-step system, if you heard our 5-step process that we use and you think, wow, those don't really apply to me. That isn't something I can see myself doing. I think I've got a better way. Okay, one of the things we know is that in the Mike Ferry system, we have been tracking numbers for so long. And we have so many incredible agents that have moved their way from no business at all up through the foundation, all the way up to high levels of productivity, that we have numbers that prove some things. And what we do know is that the agents that use the 5-step listing process oftentimes have some of the best what we would call hit ratios out there. And what I mean by hit ratio is how many listing appointments do you go on and how many listings do you take? As I said before, here at Mike Ferry, we're not going to stop until you learn how to get at least 70% of the listings that you go on. We want you to walk out with a listing taken. And these steps are a critical, and I mean a critical part of the process if you want to take your business to the level where 7 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times, maybe even 9 out of 10 times, you go on a listing appointment and you come out with the listing. And if you're already starting to judge it or critique it or question it, what is your percentage? What right now at this moment, how many listing appointments are you going on? What is your hit rate? How often are you walking out with a listing contract in your hand? Is it 40% of the time, 30%, 50%? The National Association of Realtors sees that the agents in the world today, they expect that about 20% of the time an agent will walk out of a house with a listing contract signed. So the National Association of Realtors says that you go on 10 appointments. You're probably going to get 2 of them. All right. Here at the Mike Ferry organization, using the 5-step listing process, we want to keep having you work and work and work on this until you get no less than 7 out of 10 of the appointments you go on. Which is better? I like 7 out of 10. Okay. Let's move on to point number 6. If you really want to succeed at a high level and you want to build a solid foundation, you need to understand something when it comes to listing property. Number 6, create a solid pre-appointment routine. Create a solid pre-appointment routine. Once again, why? Because our competitors don't. You know, so often our competitors are rushing over to a listing appointment. They're 2 minutes late. They haven't prepared at all. They have an argument with another seller on their way to the house. They have a fight with the teenagers on their way over to the house. They're lost. They get there late. Can you imagine walking up to a listing, knocking on the door, and saying, "Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm late, traffic"? So you have to consider, if you want to succeed at a high level and you want to build a foundation that's going to last for a long, long time, you have to create at some point a solid pre-appointment routine. Let me give you some tips, okay? Some tips. There's 4 or 5 different tips here that you should consider. A, got to get your mind in order. If you want a solid pre-appointment routine, you've got to get your mind in order. What do I mean by that? On the way to the house, should you be on the telephone? Should you be talking to other sellers, talking to your kids, talking to your staff, talking to your spouse? It's probably not the right thing to do on the way over. Could you be listening to an audio recording of yourself giving the listing presentation? That might be good. Could you be giving yourself using some powerful affirmations? Could you be having a little self-talk with your mind clear, right? B, if you want a good solid pre-appointment routine, practice your presentation in advance, right? If you've done the 5 steps, you've already, you've called back and confirmed, they've gotten a package, you've pre-qualified them, you have a pretty good understanding of what maybe some of the objections are. Shouldn't you practice that presentation 2 or 3 times? Roll through the comps, practice the scripts and dialogues, right? Maybe rehearse the objections that you might receive a few times. That's a good solid thing. You know, if you arrive to the house early, which we recommend getting there 5, 10, 15 minutes early, and you get there, it's okay to sit in the car. It's okay to be in the car in the front of the house and look through your presentation, look through the comps, get yourself mind right. Maybe once again, there's some positive affirmations, right? I'm going to take this listing. I have one job, is to walk out of this house with a listing contract signed. I am going to follow these scripts verbatim. I need high energy and high enthusiasm. Why not have a little self-talk? What do you do walking up to the door? Do you have an affirmation? Why not? This listing is mine. I'm not leaving without a listing. Okay. I wrote down C, looking and dressing professionally. In our industry today, we know for a fact that what we would call the professional dress code is going in the wrong direction. When I first started selling real estate, if you didn't wear a suit and tie to a listing presentation, you were crazy, right? Nowadays, what do? Show up with a jacket and a rock star t-shirt underneath it, right? Jeans with a hole in the knee. I'll bet you that some of your competitors will be out there in that kind of attire, shorts, flip-flops. You think it doesn't happen? It happens every day. So do you have your appointment outfit? Do you have that, that rock solid suit and tie, or ladies, that beautiful outfit that you wear that's your rock star listing appointment? It's okay if you don't have a closet full of them in the beginning. It's okay, right? You will have a closet full someday. Mike Ferry, closet full of suits, right? You may not when you're beginning and you're building your foundation. Maybe you only have one great presentation outfit. That's fine, but you put it on. Right? If you want a pre-appointment routine that works, you get yourself dressed to the nines. You look sharp, you feel sharp, you're ready to go. Why wouldn't we do that? Right? D, ensuring that you have all the proper materials prepared. Take some time for the preparation. So often an agent will, have an appointment at 4 o'clock. 3:30, they go, oh, I got to get my comps together, get my paperwork, shove it all in a bag, right? Head over, it's all disheveled, messed up, right? The paperwork's all in disarray. Do you know how uncomfortable that is when you sit down at the table and you're shuffling around with papers? Maybe you need to practice putting all of your paperwork in your briefcase in a certain way, or in your folder in a certain way, and put them in there so it's all in the right order so you can take it out casually, naturally, professionally in front of the seller. Very important for our mindset. You imagine going and you lose your pen, right? Oh, where's my pen? I got a pen around here somewhere. Where's my pen? That does not set a good environment, right? So you put your pen in the right pocket or in your briefcase. Your paperwork's all in the right spot. It's all in the right order. That's, you get rattled at a listing presentation, and where does your mind go? Our job in the 5-step process and getting this pre-appointment routine down is so you dramatically reduce the chances of getting rattled. Now, can strange things happen? Of course they can. But you need to set yourself up to reduce those odd things happening. Okay? And then E, I wrote down, being on time or early. There is so much effect that being late or almost about to be late, you're in traffic, you're driving over, you're looking at your watch, I got 2 minutes to appointment time, and your GPS says 5 minutes from appointment, right? Your blood pressure goes up, your anxiety goes up, it's very stressful. If you got to basically almost run through stop signs for the last 4 or 5 blocks to the house, how strong is your brain going to be when you get on that listing appointment? You've got to create a pre-appointment routine that has you there safely on time. What if you got there 30 minutes early? Go drive by some of the other comparables and take a look from the outside. Get your mind right. Take a look at how the neighborhood lays out. Is there anything important in the neighborhood that you need to know? Close to the freeway, close to the schools. Is there anything else you can do? A little research. If you get there early, you can do that. If you get there late, can any of that happen? No. So what I need you to understand is these are important. You got $7, $8, $10, $12, $15, $20,000 on the line. Are you going to take a chance by not having a pre-appointment routine and a 5-step process? You got to give it your best shot, don't you? Okay, so the Mike Ferry sales system is designed to have you win by steps. So take the natural steps and you can win listings more and more and more often. To be a great presenter, you have to understand that first impressions are so critical. The quality of your eye contact. Can you smile? Your ability to nod your head. Have you ever been critiqued on your handshake? You ever shake hands with a wet fish? Boy, that's always fun, right? You ever shake hands with somebody that's a wet fish? Ooh, gosh. You ever shake hands with somebody with that really aggressive grip that breaks the bones in your hand? Those aren't good. First impressions. Are you able to make eye contact with people? Are you able to smile in public? You suited up to the nines. Don't be casual, okay? I have to tell you that your competitors are getting more and more casual as time goes on. When I first started selling real estate, everyone showed up in a suit and tie to present. Ladies dressed to the nines every time. Nowadays, hole in the knee, loafers, no socks, t-shirt under a blazer with a rock band under it. this is a professional presentation. If you want to beat your competitors, first impressions are critical. You know, are your fingernails trimmed? Is the car clean? Are your materials all clean and neat and organized? You can win so many presentations just by setting it up with the professional image. Make sure you have that. Now, you don't need to have, 98 suits lined up in the closet yet. You maybe need to get your professional presentation outfit. Maybe you have one great suit that you use. It's okay if you have a listing presentation, go put it on. Ladies, you don't need, $28,000 worth of clothes. Hopefully, yes, right, ladies? Okay? But the truth is in the beginning, you need to understand, what am I trying to present? What's the first impression? I know you can create that, okay? 8, be energetic and enthusiastic during the presentation. Okay, be energetic and enthusiastic. Here's what we know. We know that energy and enthusiasm with a little bit less of a good delivery on script can win the listing a lot, right? Like your energy and enthusiasm, even if the script is a little rocky and you're a little bumpy and it's not like perfectly delivered, can still win listings at a high level. Imagine if you can put high energy, high enthusiasm, and a masterful script. Now you're rocking, right? Okay? But what doesn't work, right, is low energy and low enthusiasm. Well, Tony, I don't have a lot of natural enthusiasm. Fake it. Okay, you're going to have to at some point learn how to fake enthusiasm because it's required. The seller wants it. The seller needs to have that energy and that enthusiasm coming forward. That's what they're looking for. They expect it. So you need to understand showtime and turn the switch on if you need to turn it on. All right? It's something that many people need to develop, energy and enthusiasm. How would you grade yourself on yours? Can you ramp it up a few notches for a presentation? Please do. The seller deserves it. All right? Number 9. There's a direct correlation between knowing what to say and your ability to show up and do your job. Sellers buy the authority of a canned presentation. Okay? There is a direct correlation between knowing what to say and showing up and being able to do your job. And, the sellers want that authority. A canned presentation gives you that authority. In your workbook is our listing presentation. The scripts and dialogues are all laid out. We have a 1-minute, a 5-minute, a 20-minute presentation. We have all of the objection handlers, which we'll get to in the next segment, okay? But what you need to recognize is your approach from here on out is to develop and master that dialogue, right? Thank you so much for having me over. I am so excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look at the home? And I'd love for you to set up at the kitchen table. I want to go see the home. I'll be back in a couple minutes, and I'm really excited about a great presentation. It's canned, right? To start our presentation, I wrote down 3 really important questions. Number 1, do you absolutely have to sell this home? Number 2, will you price your home at a price that will cause it to sell, or do you want it to sit on the market for a long period of time? Number 3, do you want me to go ahead and handle the sale for you? It's all canned. Okay, it's not complicated, but it's all canned. Right? So this is where your background work is going to have to kick in, learning those scripts and dialogues. 10, having a strong knowledge of the MLS stats. Okay, your ability to have a strong knowledge of the MLS stats. Things like days on the market. Days on the market. What are the average days on the market today? Total number of listings available. Do you know how many homes are actively for sale in your marketplace today? The total number of new listings per month. How many new listings per month are coming on the market each and every month? Total number of homes that sell per month. Total number of homes that sell per month. That is part of your research and background work that you need to do in your MLS. The good news is all the MLS systems today, they make it easy. They have a stats tab. There's a place that you can pull up the stats. It's pretty easy. It's your job to study and learn those and understand those. But you need to have a strong knowledge of the stats because in your presentation, there's places where you can introduce those stats that will give you the authority that you need, especially as a newer agent. If you're a newer agent just building this foundation, your knowledge of the stats can cause you to elevate in terms of authority. Got to spend the time and learn those stats. I wish I could do it for you. You've got to spend the time. 11. A great presentation requires asking questions versus making statements. A great presentation requires asking questions versus making statements. If you look and read through, which is part of homework this week, if you start really involving yourself in our presentation, if you look at it, the majority of the entire presentation is nothing but questions. Question after question after question. We don't make big, broad, sweeping statements. That's why our listing presentation is so powerful, because the competitors that come in and compete against you, they come in and they make these big, broad statements the whole time. Let me tell you about my marketing plan. Let me tell you about why you should hire me as an agent. Let me spend an hour and tell you about my company, right? Let me tell you how I determined the price of your home. And all we do is come in and have you ask questions, right? And the questions then are all designed to take the seller from the start to the end in one presentation. If you look at our script, right? Our script is designed to take the seller from the starting point through the comps, through your knowledge of value, all the way to the landing point, which is a signature at the end. And the beautiful part, it's a 20-minute listing presentation, right? You know, many of our best agents are taking listings in less than 30 minutes over and over and over. We actually have a 1-minute listing presentation, which you'll see on those scripts and dialogues. That 1-minute listing presentation, 1 minute. You know, it is so fun to see an agent for the first time get a listing in a minute or less. You talk about exciting, okay? We get these calls all the time. We have a coaching client. Tony, you won't believe this. Oh my gosh. I went to the house. I asked those first 3 questions. They said yes, yes, yes. I pulled out the contract. We signed the contract. Better yet, we ask you to send the pre-listing package over, right? It's part of the process. In that package, the contract is in there completely filled out. There's the CMA, the net sheet, right? The contract. Okay? Think about this. Sometimes you're going to find yourself where you walk into the house and there's your contract sitting on the edge of the table, signed and filled out already. It's a no-minute presentation, okay? If you use the 5-step process, it can have you win in ways that right now might seem unimaginable. But it's so true. If you're suited up right, dressed professionally, nails clean, good smile, good handshake, quality materials, you've used our 5-step process, you have confidence, your head is there, right? You sit down, you have a presentation, you go through the script. You become so obviously the right choice for the seller. Like it just becomes obvious. Can you appreciate some of the things that probably go on at listing presentations? Show up 10 minutes late, didn't bring the CMA or the comps, didn't ask them anything about where they're going or why. Start making big, bold statements, all ego-based, right? The poor seller is repulsed by that whole thing. You can imagine some of the things that they go through. Our design is the 180 degree, the opposite side. Well, we've all heard the old adage, right? Telling is not selling. Questions are selling. Telling someone is not selling. Questions is selling. Number 12, you must begin putting in the work to perfect your presentation effective immediately. You must put in the work to perfect your presentation effective immediately. And on 12, I wrote something down, okay? Which is part of your homework too, by the way, okay? From this day forward, you either have a live presentation, which I hope you have one today, a live formal listing presentation. 4 o'clock, you're going to meet Bob and Mary Smith to list their home, right? You either have one of those or you don't. You either have a live one. If you have a live one, of course you're going to get a chance to practice your presentation from start to finish because it's live. You're using the 5-step process. But if you don't have a live presentation, I'm going to ask that every day you start practicing a presentation. It's so simple to do today. You can set yourself up to practice a presentation. So you take your phone out, you put it on selfie video mode, you prop it up across your desk, right? You set it up, you've got your script in your hand, which we recommend, right? You take this script, you've got it in your hand, you get to read it, right? Thank you so much for having me over. I'm so excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look at the home, right? You start right there. Now to begin my presentation, I've written down 3 really important questions, okay? Number 1, and you put the video on and you roll all the way through it practicing. Remember, it's really important. Hand gestures, head nods, body language, nodding your head, smiling. That all comes in becoming an expert presenter, right? But you can have high energy, take our script, run through it, you can read it to the seller, and you're going to win at a high level as a new agent with building a foundation. But I want you to practice one every single day. It only takes 15 minutes to practice it. And then I want you to go back and watch it. So you watch yourself. You'll get better and better and better at it every day. Okay? So that work has to be done on your part. I wish we had 30 hours today. We could spend 30 hours on this presentation. All right? Here's the homework. Now this is where it gets tough, where remember you promised me work ethic? You promised you were going to be coachable. You promised that you were going to stay on top of the homework. That begins here and now, okay? Number 1, write out our listing presentation. Get a scratch pad. Take the scripts that are in your workbook. They're all there. Take the listing presentation. Write it out completely every day for 30 days. I want you, yes, it's tedious. Yes, it takes a lot of work. I get it, right? Write it out every day for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, you're going to know more about our listing, the words. You're going to know the words inside out, backwards and forwards. It's almost impossible to not know the words. Okay? Write it out every day for 30 days, starting today. 2, implement 1 live or 1 practice presentation every day you work. So if you work, you either have a live one or you practice. One day you practice with a role play partner. Find another agent in the office. Your spouse, your kids, let them be the seller. Practice it once, or put that phone up and practice at least once all the way through. And I mean everything from the pre-qual all the way through the script to the close. Okay? And practice a positive result. Practice you getting the contract signed every time. It'll help your confidence. 3, you've got to create your pre-listing package. Okay, your assignment for this section, you've got to create this package. I need you to get your references, right? I need you to get the company history or your company track record. Get it put together. No ego, all right? I need you to get it set up where you're able to put the CME. Many companies have these tools to help you, where you can put the comparative market analysis in. You need to learn how to do the net sheet and have that there, right? I need you to put together your pre-listing package so you're prepared. We're starting to get appointments now. We need to have you get a pre-listing package either mailed or delivered starting today, okay? It's okay if you deliver it the day before. Hey, I want to stop by. I've got a pre-listing package. I want to put it in your hand. I am so excited about our appointment tomorrow. Would you do me a favor and read every page of that? And I can't wait to see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It's okay, right? You've got to get your pre-listing package together. And then number 4, go through our plan of action, also in your workbook, and look at every step of the plan of action and work to understand it and make sure that it's something you do to get a home sold. That is a bunch of homework for the foundation, which is our listing presentation. You got a lot of work to do in this segment. You're going to have to put your back into it and get the work done. Thanks for your time today. This is a big one.
Harry, I think you're still on mute.
I cannot hear you.
You don't read sign language? kind of agents are you? Anyway, I'm sorry. This, not to make any excuses because I obviously didn't push mute or unmute, but this I was in here with Lauren this morning trying to get everything set up, and this mouse and keyboard we're going to have to replace because they don't go anywhere that you want them to. And so our next step today is just going to be to replace those so we've got something that's working right. Anyway, I just wanted to wrap up everything. I hope you got a lot of information out of Tony and what we talked about before and things, but just a couple of last minute things that is the importance of knowing the stats. And we know comps because we pulled them up and we found out that houses have sold and things, but just think of yourself, even outside of a listing presentation and things, look at just walking down the street with a Century 21 hat on or a t-shirt on or something, or standing in the grocery store line with something on there that makes it look like you're a realtor, whatever that happens to be. And those kind of things drum up questions. People like to talk about real estate. They want to know what's going on with things. And it's nice to have a basic idea of the area that you work in. And that basic idea needs to be updated on a regular basis in your mind and everything. Once a month, and not that it's anything that you can't do on your own, but once a month, I put together a company-wide almost, as our company has gotten bigger, so it's not quite company-wide right now, but it is expanding. But I put together market at a glance for the previous month. And you may or may not have seen it. It's located in the Agent Resource Guide. And in there, it breaks down each kind of basic area that we're in, with the exception of the Bay Area so far. We've gotten up into Central, but not beyond that, but we'll work on that. But anyway, what it does is it breaks down the things that we kind of talk about on a regular basis. Somebody says, how's the market? You can tell them how the market is in your area. You can tell them how the market is in general. The letter that comes with it talks about interest rates. It talks about ups and downs in the market. It talks about things that may be driving things positively or negatively. It goes through, tells you about the average price in an area, the average sales price. Tells you about what it's called Market at a Glance. And it'll be for each month. So like the last one that you'd find there now would be Market at a Glance for January 2025. And then there'll be another one that'll come out within just a few days in March for February. I have to wait until I can get the numbers because nobody posts them until the end of the month. But anyway, and then that comes out and you know the basics. You know how long it's taken to sell a house in the area as an average. You know what the price per square foot average is. You know what the sales price average is. You know what the inventory level is. If we don't list any more property, then we have 2.3 months left or whatever it happens to be. And it talks about specific areas. So if you're working in a specific area, it's nice to know those kind of numbers. If you have access through the MLS to a program called InfoSparks, that is where I get the information. That's one of the places I get the information. I get it from there and from a title company. But InfoSparks will tell you about those things. So go out with that information. Don't think of your CMA as being the highest and best available item that you have to take out there with you. Of course, that identifies their house, but people want to know what's going on in the market. And for a lot of reasons. For one, they may be moving somewhere within the market or within one of the other markets. They want to know, maybe they're getting a loan and they'd like to know what interest rates are and things. So there are things that we can talk about in there, but know those kind of things. If you see something that's being built somewhere, find out what that is. I was driving through just out between Winchester and Hemet. And I know you don't know where those are necessarily. Some of you do, some of you don't. But it's kind of out in the boonies a little bit. It's about 20 minutes from the nearest freeway. And there's this gigantic concrete slab wall building going up. And so I did some research to find out. And I've been asked about that building probably 30 or 40 times in the area as I drive around or as I go to different offices and things. And it's I finally found out that it's an Amazon fulfillment center. And there's no freeway there. I don't know how anybody can get to it, but anyway, I at least know about it now. So it sounds like I know my community, right? It sounds like I know what's going on. And that's the important thing. When you go out there, these people are panicked, right? They're selling a house or they're thinking about it. Different things are going to happen in their lives. They've already happened in their lives. They have to move, they want to move, they don't want to move, their kids want them to move, whatever it is, and they've got all these distractions going on. And what we actually provide is we provide information and we can provide that calming influence. We can be that, hey, you know what? I understand that. I get it. We can take care of that. How soon do you want to move? How? And we go through all those things. The other thing that he mentioned that we didn't talk about before, but a net sheet. I told you that one agent that we have goes out and just waves a net sheet. Well, you heard the extremes, right? Waving a net sheet all the way up to his packet, which is about, I don't know, 30 or 40 pages probably by the time you put in references and all those kind of things. But the bottom line is that you need to put together your listing presentation and perfect that. It doesn't have to be my listing presentation. It's also not going to be the same for every single client because you have clients that have different needs. You have hopefully done a seller pre-qualifying interview on the phone, which is one of our foundation classes actually that we went over not too awfully long ago. But anyway, we need to go out there and be that calming influence. The more calm we are through the whole thing, the more we can calm them down, the better they're going to feel and the more confident they feel. You know, let's call Maggie. She'll tell us, you know, and then that becomes a focal point for them. They can call whenever they want to. They can touch base. They feel comfortable doing that. And that's the position that we want to get to. We want to be that calming influence, that confidant, that person that they can talk to about anything that's going on with their house and things and move them forward. And you will develop not only a relationship with them. I've sold houses to some of my best friends now, you know, that we've gotten together on other occasions and things like that. Doesn't happen every time, which is good because I've sold a lot of houses and I don't think I have a matching amount of friends, but anyway, the bottom line is that who knows where those relationships are going to go. But one of the things that's going to be huge for you in your life, it's been huge for me in my life, and most successful realtors will tell you the same thing, is that their referrals and client database are the most solid sources of business over the next 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, whatever it happens to be. If you are that person, then they are not afraid to recommend you to somebody else. And that's where it comes in. Do you have a question, Rochelle?
Yes, sir. Terry, they were talking about the listing presentation and like the homework, like writing it out. Where can we find this verbatim 20-minute listing script?
Okay, part of it is in, you probably don't have a copy of the scripts and things yet, right?
I'm not too sure. We're just getting into your organization now.
Yeah, I get it. I'll tell you where. Let me see. Can you email me?
Mm-hmm.
And
What's your email?
Yeah, email me at. Let me think of the easy one. Email me at the number 1 Terry Ryan, TerryRyan @gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm pretty easy about things. The only reason it had a 1 on it is because somebody else used Terry Ryan. Otherwise, it would have just been Terry Ryan @gmail. But
okay.
Anyway, email
Thank
me
you.
and tell me what you want, and I'll get you the information. Is that okay? And I will tell you
Yes.
thing, as long as we're chatting, I will tell you one other thing, and that is, it's not a Mike Ferry script, or it's not Mike Ferry related, but 21 online. If you go to 21 online and go to productivity, there's one of the little things in there that's productivity or something, one of the tabs. And you go there, there's actually an area called Moxie Works. You may or may not have tripped over it and you're messing around on 21 online. But Moxie Works has a real easy to get to listing presentation as well. Okay? But give me, send me your email and stuff and I'll get you out the Mike Ferry part.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. Thank you. And I'll share that with my folks in my office.
Perfect. What office?
Paso and Atascadero.
Oh, very good. Welcome. Good to
Well,
see
thank
you.
you.
Good to
We're
see you
excited.
on here. I will tell you, in case somebody else didn't tell you, I think we mentioned it in one of our meetings, but the foundations for anybody that's in the office or anything else that wants to use, the foundations and the contracts things, those are on about a 2-month rotation. So if you miss this one, you could probably pick it up again in, half a dozen weeks or something like that, because we just keep rotating through it and things. So sometimes there's going to be redundancy because you've already heard it too many times. But anytime you have new people coming in, or if, even if people are just bumping into a little bit of a wall, sometimes it helps to have a foundational rewrite just to kind of say, oh yeah, you know what, I haven't done that in a while and things. I think one of the next ones we're doing is handling objections. I don't have a calendar here in front of me, but anyway, I'm done with you for today, or you're done with me for today. And remember what I said to start out with. At 12:15, we have a panel of 3 great ladies that are active moms and active realtors and active everything else. And they're doing great at both. I've seen their kids and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, worth listening if you got time from like 12:15 for about an hour. And that'll just be on our regular resource.
Are you usually here with us on Wednesdays? Is that usually the day we should kind of make sure that we're setting aside to come see you?
Wednesdays is Wednesdays is pretty regular. Monday is pretty regular as well. And I kind of bounce it around. Sometimes it's a contract, sometimes it's foundations, depends on where we are in the cycle. But yeah, Monday and Wednesday, I'm usually around in the mornings. And if you have things that come up along the way, you can certainly call me. I know 2 or 3 things about real estate, and I'll send you out a list of those so you don't ask me any questions I can't answer. So anyway, it's good to see all of you. Welcome to those that are new. It's good to see you. I hope to get up and see you guys before too long. I know that the whole thing is kind of slow coming together, and I live near Murrieta, not near Atascadero or any of those things. But anyway, we'll definitely get up there. Where are you from, Maggie?
I'm also based out of the Atascadero office.
Oh, very good. Atascadero, nice area. I've been through there before, but it's like most of the towns. It's just you've been through it. So, all right. I'll see you soon. Mitha, I'll probably be up to see you next week, I think. Got Chino Hills on my schedule. Bye, everybody. See you soon.